So there's something I want to share with you guys. I received a deeper interpretation of the wedding at Cana in John 2. So stick around if you want to hear it. The next day, there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, Jesus and the disciples, because they were all invited to the celebration. The celebration of marriage, okay? The wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told him they have no more wine. So before this marriage ever began, during the festivities of the celebration, they have already ran out of wine. It's kind of like someone who is super zealous for the Lord, super excited about the marriage they're about to have with Jesus. They get baptized, they start opening their Bible and studying the Word, but then something happens in their life. Those distractions happen, and the wine that in the New Testament, the wine that represents the sacrifice of Jesus by faith, runs out, and the person falls back into their old lives. They ran out of wine before the marriage with Jesus ever began. So in this, Jesus' mother was there. First of all, Mary knows the anointing on Jesus' life because the angel himself came to Mary when she conceived Jesus. And the wine supplies ran out. She says, they have no more wine. This is just her knowing that Jesus has an anointing on his life, and she is turning to Jesus and saying, son, they don't have any wine. Now, in the next verse, I hear so many people preach that Jesus was angry with her and saying, woman, in an ugly, nasty, volatile way, because it says, dear woman, that's not our problem. Okay, if Jesus was rebuking his mother, like people say, woman, then he wouldn't have continued on to say that's not our problem. And on top of that, in Genesis, when man was asked to name creation, he named his wife a woman. And God defined the woman as the helper, okay? So also in the Old Testament teachings, it talks about how a son is to bring honor to his mother and father and cling to them in their teachings until he leaves his mother and father to cling to his bride. Well, Jesus hadn't clinged to his bride, so he was still with his mom and his dad. And so his mother was his helper until he leaves his mother and father to cling to his wife. And Jesus replied, my time hasn't came yet. So when someone is so zealous for the Lord and they get baptized, and then all of a sudden you see them drinking in the bars, hanging out with the wrong people, doing drugs and indulging in sexual behaviors and doing the very opposite of what they proclaimed by faith to believe in, then it's not Jesus's time for that person. When I believe that when he said my time hasn't came yet, is because of that. Because it wasn't his time. Those people ran out of wine. They didn't believe. But his mother told the servants, now we are all servants when we return to God. We are all servants for God until we become a friend to God. His mother told the servants, do whatever this man tells you to do. And standing nearby were 6 stone water jars used for Jewish ceremonial washings. Each could hold 20 to 30 gallons. And Jesus told the servants, fill these jars with water. And when the jars had been filled, he said, now dip some out and take it to the master of ceremonies. Well, because they ran out of wine, it would have humiliated their master. But because Jesus stepped in and these servants did exactly what he said to do by faith, now Jesus said, now take this to your master and let him drink. So the servants followed the instructions of Jesus by faith. When the master of ceremonies tasted this water that was now wine, not knowing where it came from, because he hasn't experienced Jesus, though of course the servants knew because they already had faith in Jesus by following Jesus's instructions, he called the bridegroom over. A host always serves the best wine first, he said. Then when everyone has had a lot to drink, he brings out the less expensive wine. But you have kept the best for last. This is a moment where he believes in the wine. This miraculous sign at Cana in Galilee was the first time that Jesus revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. All they had was water, and this water turned to wine because the servants believed. The water turned into wine. It was symbolic to them believing in the atonement of Jesus that would be to come. Also, there's another hint that the first will be last and the last will be first. Notice it also says after the wedding he went to Capernaum for a few days with his mother, brothers, and disciples. He's going with the people. He's going with his support at this time. So this is not a small miracle. This is a big miracle, because this miracle literally defines Jesus' entire ministry to come. And when Jesus died on the cross, he said, "It is finished," but it is only finished on earth. In his prayer, he says, "On earth as it is in heaven." It is not finished in heaven yet. That will come in Revelation when he comes to take his bride, us, and cling to us as his bride. And at that point, he becomes King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he comes to judge the earth as exactly that. Let me know if you understood that. That's exciting.